Welcome to Convince Me, presented by BetMGM. What can we say? It's the biggest betting day of the year. It will be the biggest betting day in the history of the United States. You're kicking it off with us. It is the most exciting window in sports. It's open now. It's going to be open for a very long time. But there are more props, more markets, more opportunities to bet today than you've ever had in your entire life. And more people are going to do it than ever before. So let's get to it. I got Samantha Previte and Darren Rovell on the Action Network news desk. I got Sean Koerner, Chris Raybon, and Simon Hunter to convince me of 4 bets today, not 3 bets, 4 bets today. Everything we're talking about, all the picks, all the data, all the research, all the analysis, available for free in the award-winning Action Network app. We got a poll on Darren Rovell's Twitter feed. Which receiver bet for anytime touchdown is the best from your opinion? Is it T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Jamar Chase? Nobody be nervous. It's just another show. It's just another game. Just happens to be the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls. Let's treat it like every other show. All right? Sean Koerner, kick us off. Give me your best bet.
So if you can't tell, I'm on the Bengals today at +4. And, I like them +4 today for the very same reason I like them +4 against the Titans in the divisional round. And that reason is Joe Burrow. Since week 14, he has been arguably the best quarterback in football. He ranks first in adjusted net yards per attempt, first in EPA per play, second in QB rating. He also has the lowest turnover-worthy play rate since week 10, according to PFF. While the Rams are the more complete team, there's no denying that, and they have a huge edge when it comes to their defensive line going up against the Bengals' offensive line. We have seen Joe Burrow overcome that in the past. So I'm projecting the Rams -3 here. There's some slight home field advantage here, but I don't think it's as much as others are letting on. And the Bengals, they've only lost by more than 4 twice in 20 games this year. So I just love the value we're getting on the Bengals +4 here.
That's the stat. The Bengals have only lost by more than 4 twice in 20 games. Simon Hunter, my brother, what do you got?
Riding Sean's coattails here. I'm on the Bengals. It's actually up to 4.5 now at BetMGM in New Jersey. So
Wow.
You've been waiting to get the 4.5. It's now time to grab it just because the money's coming on the Rams this morning. We've seen that they were kind of holding off. They've been waiting for this moment. They came in heavy. I know Darren's going to talk about it. I think there's more bets, big money bets on the Rams, money line and spread, than there are on the Bengals. So it looks like the pros definitely likes this Rams team, where I'm right there with Sean. I do think we're getting a great number here with a Bengals team that just plays games close. Every week we talk about the analytics and why they're not as good as people think they are and how they shouldn't be in these games. And every week, Chad, they've covered and they won. So I'm done trying to go against the Bengals. I'm going to enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm going with Bengals +4.5.
It is very interesting. And after Raybon goes, I want to talk a little bit about some of the money and some of the analytics versus what the Bengals continue to do to defy it. Raybon, what are you thinking here?
Dad, I think you got to go with the first quarter under 9.5 in this game. Super Bowls historically have been very slow starting for the offenses involved. Since 1999, we've seen 64% of Super Bowls go under 10 points. And these two teams are kind of like that. They're not going to blow you out of the water in the first quarter. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to kind of feel out what the defense gives them. And then they're really going to start turning it on, even in the second quarter and obviously into the second half. So if you look at both of these teams involved in a game, the Rams 14-6 to the first quarter under this year, the Bengals 13-6-1. That's a combined 27-12-1 record, 69% cover rate to the first quarter unders for these teams. So I think that's what you go with in Super Bowl 56.
Look, it's a tough one because for 2 weeks we've been talking about this game And for 2 weeks, we've been talking about the slow pace of play in the beginning of the game, not a lot of scoring in the first 6 minutes. We've been talking about the Bengals. Here's my question. It's moved up to 4.5. The money is coming in on the Rams. Are we waiting to see if this gets to 5? Simon, what do you think of that?
Nah, because 5 is not really a key number. I mean, just historically, math wise, the 4, the 3, that's what we care about. So 4.5, 4, those are very key numbers compared to 5 mathematically. No, it doesn't really matter if you get the 5 at this point. So to me, you just grab that 4.5 now, just in case. Again, we see it all week, this Bengals number fluctuating. I just could see the money coming in late here on this Bengals team because we've talked all week about Joe Burrow. No one's really talking about Matt Stafford. So it just seems like the sexy team right now are the Bengals. So I can just see the public before kickoff really coming in on this Bengals number.
I love Raybon's bet. I love Koerner's bet. I love Simon's bet. I love them all. I'm going to bet them all. I am. I'm also betting the under 24 in the first half. I'm a little scared of the total at 48.5 because I do think there's always the sort of that just crazy run of scoring in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter before things tighten up again. But I love the unders in the first half. I'm going with the Bengals plus. If I can get the Bengals plus 4.5, which I can in Connecticut, I just bet the Bengals plus 4.5 as Simon was talking, even though I was already on the Bengals plus 4. It's going to be Bengals plus 4 for me in the opening round of Convince Me. All right, Darren, take it away. Give us the news. Give us the poll. Tell us everything.
Well, it's going to be a glorious day on Twitter. The first 4 trending topics are Rams, Super Bowl, hashtag Trump was right, and who day. So that is really just exactly where I thought it was going to be this morning. Just to talk about what Simon said for a minute, because we just got a bet in from FanDuel. Mattress Mac has bet $9.5 million on 2 bets for the Bengals. After that, the 16 next bets after that are all on Rams in some fashion. So that's pretty crazy. We do have that poll. Who's the best anytime touchdown scorer? And we gave you obviously the odds. Obviously, Cooper Kupp would have been, without the odds, would have been the winner there. But with the odds, Odell Beckham Jr. at plus 130, 29% of the vote. Cooper Kupp minus 160, 28% of the vote. Jamar Chase plus 110, 25% of the vote. I mean, really a hotly contended poll here. And T. Higgins at plus 170, 18% of the vote. If you look at BetMGM, the biggest public bet on a side or a total is actually the Bengals money line. 72% of bets is on the Bengals money line. Underdogs in the postseason this year are 5-7. If the Bengals win the Super Bowl, 5-7 to win straight up when they've won straight up. So if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, it will be the first time that 6 underdogs have won outright in the postseason since 1970.
Ooh. The spread rarely matters in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Right? Like either the team that is the underdog tends to win if they're going to cover, and the team that is the favorite tends to cover if they're going to win.
It's also so refined, obviously, because of the amount of betting, and I mean, it's just so there's not a lot of value just on the line.
Right. All right. So listen, the next couple of segments we're going to focus on player props because the player prop market is so freaking big in the Super Bowl. Literally hundreds and hundreds of player props. Boy, has this evolved since Will the Fridge score a touchdown for the Chicago Bears was the original prop back in 1986. Koerner, you're up first. Give me your first best Super Bowl prop bet.
I'm going with Cooper Kupp, longest reception over 28.5 yards. I'm actually surprised we're still able to get this number. He's cleared this in 15 of 20 games this season, so that's a 75% hit rate with a median of 36 yards. And while Kupp isn't really a deep threat, his average depth of target is only 8.4. He's phenomenal after the catch, averaging 6.4 yards after the catch per reception. So, one of the other aspect of this, why he's so good at crushing this prop, is we can usually bank on him getting 8 to 10 catches a game. So he has multiple shots at going over this. And I'm, he had a historical season this year, so I'm not projecting this at 75%, but I'm still projecting it closer to 62%, with the median closer to 33.5. So I think we have about 5 yards of value in this market, which is massive. So that's why Cooper Kupp longest reception over 28.5 yards is one of my favorite player props for the Super Bowl.
Oh, I love this one. But I want to hear what Simon has to say.
No shocker here, Chad. We've talked on our show. I've loved T. Higgins all week. It's moved up now a little bit. So I loved it at 67.5. Loved it at 69.5. I still like it at 71.5. It's just obviously our odds and value go down every time it goes up. But we talked just about the mismatch for this Cincy team, what they need to take advantage of. And Los Angeles, we all know they have Ramsey, arguably the best corner in football, who's going to be matchable on Chase. T. Higgins is again their number 2, who is undersized. And T. Higgins is a big body receiver who likes to go up and get it. So last week he had 10 targets. The week before he had 9 targets. This whole playoffs, Joe Burrow has not just looked for him. He's really taken advantage of Chase getting double bracketed and T. Higgins, who's a big, fast, strong receiver, getting single coverage. It's going to happen again this week. And knowing how slow and old the safeties are for this banged up Rams defense, that's how Joe's going to take advantage of this team. He's going to throw it deep to T. Higgins, get a big play out of it, and really burn these safeties. So I love this number because it's one of these where we get 2 big plays with T. Higgins. We can hit this over in the first half. So I do think you're getting great value on a 71.5 over receiving yard prop for T. Higgins.
But like I said, we all sort of have a theme here. I think I said this before we went on the air. It's trending towards Bengals, right? We like the Bengals plus 4.5. You like T. Higgins over 71.5. It's a very interesting trend that we're going to develop in this show that people are going to see. We're foreshadowing a little bit. Raybon, what do you got?
I think you got to go Samaje Perine under 15.5 rushing plus receiving yards. He had a big game in the AFC Championship, which I was happy about. I was on the Bengals in that game, so I was glad he caught that long pass for a touchdown. But you look back at the 4 games before that, and he averaged 6.5 total scrimmage yards per game. Didn't clear this number in any of those 4 games. So I think that Chiefs game was kind of an anomaly. They had 2 really good plays drawn up for him. Usually that's 0. And in the previous 2 postseason games, he got 1 touch in each game. So the number 3 back actually had more carries than Perine. And I think you're going to need 3 touches to get this because he averages about 7 yards a catch and about 4 yards a carry. So one way or another, he's going to need another 3 touches here. I don't think he gets it in the Super Bowl. They've had 2 weeks to rest. I see Mixon out there for every play. So I'm betting on Samaje Perine going back to being Samaje Perine. Give me under 15.5 rush plus receiving yards.
Listen, it would not be a convince me show if we didn't have Raybon coming up with a 3rd string player who is going to go under some minuscule yardage prop that we're all going to have to sweat the entire game because it's the 4th quarter and they throw a screen pass and he's got 4 blockers in front of him and he gets tackled about 1.5 yards short of that total. I'm just saying it's going to happen. Listen, the first thing I did on Monday morning at about 7 a.m., I listened to Raybon and Koerner on the Action Network Propapalooza podcast. And the very first prop they talked about was Cooper Kupp over 28.5 receiving yards, 28.5 yards for longest
I wish
catch.
it was just receiving yards.
Yeah, right. 28.5 yards longest catch. I bet it immediately. I still love it. I've been thinking about it all week. It makes total sense in this defense, in this game, with his ability to run after the catch. Give me Cooper Kupp over 28.5 yards for the longest reception. Samantha Previte, who's playing in this game? A lot of injury talk. Who's playing?
Thanks, Chad. Thankfully, the injury report is pretty light on both sides. So kicking it off with the Bengals, tight end CJ Uzomah is listed as questionable due to a sprained MCL he suffered in the first half of the AFC Championship game. He was a non-participant to start the week, but then was upgraded to limited and full and is expected to play in today's game. And on the Rams side, running back Darrell Henderson was activated from injured reserve this week after sitting out since week 16 with a knee injury. Sean McVay indicated that he will join Sony Michel and Cam Akers in the running back rotation. It's good news that left tackle Andrew Whitworth is healthy again, given that backup Joe Noteboom was moved to injured reserve on Friday and will not play. And lastly, tight end Tyler Higbee was also placed on injured reserve this week after spraining his MCL in the NFC Championship game. He will not play. The Rams will roll with backup Kendall Blanton. At BetMGM, 92% of the bets and 94% of the handle is on the over 29.5 receiving yards for Blanton. Personally, I am all about that Blanton anytime touchdown at plus 230. And that is all I have for you for actives and inactives. Back to you, Chad.
I don't mind it being a light list for the Super Bowl. You want to get as many of the players in as possible, so that way you got the best opportunity without much variance. Speaking of, let's go to round 2 of the player props. Best bets. Koerner, lay it on me, brother.
So obviously I'm going with the punter prop here because this is the only day all year we can sweat a player prop together, punter player prop together. So I'm going with Kevin Huber, longest punt over 52.5 yards. So he's cleared this in 13 of 20 games this season. So that's a 65% clip. And using the market's projection of right around 3.5 punts for him, using my simulator, it comes out to about a median of 55.5 for this market. So I have him clearing this number 62% of the time. And every yard is worth around 4%. So I would only bet this up to 53.5. At 53.5, the win probability drops down to 58%. I think that's where I'd stop. But either way, I think this line should be closer to 55.5, and every yard in this market matters. So give me Kevin Huber, longest punt over 52.5 yards.
Look, this is the beauty of this game, is that you can bet in theory as much on Kevin Huber and his punting prop as you can on the side or the total. And it's all the same money, right?
Yep.
A little bit of money on that is the same as a little bit of money on the sides and the totals. If you got the opportunity, if you see the advantage, that's what you got to take. Simon.
Dad, it's going to be no shocker. After 2 sleepless nights, I'm exhausted. And why I'm exhausted? Because for some reason, my biggest bet today is going to be on Evan McPherson on over 1.5 field goals. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I ended up here, but I figured it out quickly on Friday that almost all my money is tied to a kicker kicking over 1.5 field goals. I love this bet. Opened at minus 120. It's up to minus 140, minus 150, a lot of books. This kid has been incredibly clutch. We know that. I mean, he has been very, very consistent for them. So against the Tennessee Titans, he went 4 for 4. Against the Chiefs, he went 4 for 4. In this matchup, I'm looking at a team in the Bengals that they can move the ball. That's what they do. They move the ball. They are bad in the red zone. I believe they were 22nd in the league in efficiency in the red zone this season. So it's a matchup where it plays to our strengths of the Rams are happy to give up yards, but once you get in the red zone, that's when the Rams really lock it down. So I love this player prop, especially with a team that has so much confidence in their kicker. I have no doubt if we have a 55-yarder lined up, they're going to let him kick it because it's indoors. I know it's not technically indoors because there isn't open in the stadium, but it's indoors. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. Everything just points to this being a good number. So it's my biggest bet of the day for sure. This Evan McPherson over 1.5 field goals.
Listen, shooters got to shoot. Know what I'm saying? It is amazing that you end up like in this game, you start adding it up. And like I said, you start to see the patterns and you realize, oh my God, some of my biggest bets of the day are going to be on Kevin Huber and Evan McPherson. Unbelievable. That's great. Raybon, this is going to be something else.
Oh, Matthew Stafford. Let's go under 5.5 rushing yards for Matthew Stafford. I mean, what did this guy, become Josh Allen over these last few games? He's got 6 or more rushing yards in each postseason game. Now his numbers at 5.5. That's ridiculous. Even with those 3 games, he's still been under in 13 of 20 on the season. And that's with 2 or less yards in each of those 13 games. So he's been held to 2 or fewer rushing yards in essentially 2/3 of his games this year. His median on the year in 20 games played regular and postseason, a half a rushing yard for Matthew Stafford. So just overlook the random variant. Sometimes a guy that averages 2 yards. We'll see a couple of games where he has big games, so scramble or something. But this number is way too high. Cincinnati actually gave up the 10th fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks, and over half of those yards came from 2 quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. So there's nothing to indicate that Cincinnati is just going to, give up like an easy run to Stafford. It could happen, but this has been a good defense against quarterbacks. Stafford's median's a half a yard. And by the way, the Rams are still favored. I know we kind of lean toward the Bengals, but the Rams are still favored. So you could see upwards of 3 nail downs from Matthew Stafford in this game. A lot of ways for him to go under 5.5 rushing yard, which again, he's done in 2/3 of his games.
Jesus, you guys give me a punter prop, a kicker prop, and a quarterback under prop. This is what I'm supposed to choose between. Heads up, Darren, by the way, I'm coming to you next. I screwed up our rundown, so I'm coming to you next for a poll update. Listen, I love the Huber prop. I love the McPherson prop. The Stafford prop I've been thinking about all week because Raybon has been trying to convince me of this. And I decided this morning to pull the trigger. You can still get under 5.5 Matthew Stafford. It just makes sense. I read our stuff on actionnetwork.com this morning. A couple people loved it as one of their favorite props for the day. Matthew Stafford under 5.5 rushing yards. We got one more best bet segment to come. Darren, give us a poll update, please.
Poll update is still, we have Cooper Kupp is in second on the anytime touchdown scorer. Odell Beckham plus 130. That's number one, 29% of the vote. Cooper Kupp, 28%. Jamar Chase, 25%. And T. Higgins, 18%. So again, people are just loving the plus 130 on Odell, and that's coaxing them away from the supposed guarantee of Cooper Kupp finding his way into the end zone.
Well, by accident, we completely walked ourselves into a very nice transition. Let's talk about our favorite long shot bets. Koerner, you're up first.
So Simon already touched on this, but I think T. Higgins is going to have a big game. So I love the value you get on T. Higgins to win the Super Bowl MVP at 50-1 right now. Obviously a quarterback is more likely to win the award. 13 of the past 20 have been quarterbacks. But based on the implied win probability for each team, I'm not seeing much value on either quarterback to win the award. However, wide receiver does seem like the best position to sort of attack when it comes to value. They've won 4 of the past 20 MVP awards. And there's some great wide receivers in this game. You have Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. So I think T. Higgins offers the most value at the longest odds of those 4. But the Rams could go out of their way to try to slow down Jamar Chase. CJ Uzoma is dealing with the sprained MCL. I think he's going to be more of a decoy today. So there's certainly, a pretty clear path to Higgins just having a monster game here, big enough to have, the MVP award over Joe Burrow. So I think I'm going with T. Higgins here at 50-1 to win MVP.
Like I said, we're seeing a theme, right? T. Higgins over 71.5 receiving yards. Bengals plus 4.5. T. Higgins to win MVP. Simon, tell me what you got.
Chad, as you know, early in the week, my favorite long shot bet was Matthew Stafford to have 2 touchdowns. Our crazy loyal fans have bet it it was 150-1 on BetMGM. They bet it down to 20-1 on BetMGM. So we got the good value, but that bet's dead. There's no chance it's going to even hit, let alone at 20-1. That's just a terrible number. So I had to switch it up. And I think me and Chris are on the same wavelength. We're trying to take advantage of Higbee being out for this Rams team. That's a big piece of them in the red zone. I'm getting Odell right now 10-1 and to be the first touchdown scorer. So in this matchup, everyone's going to see the video floating around. Eli Apple and Odell Beckham are old teammates. Odell would torture this man in practice, literally would abuse the man. So we already know the matchup's going to be Eli Apple on Odell all game. And to me, in that red zone, Cooper Kupp, he's going to be getting all the looks. That's where people are going to think the ball's going to be going. I just can see Odell getting one, let alone the first one at 10-1. I think that's great value where I made this 8-1 just because, again, Higbee being out, I still think they haven't really adjusted enough for him being out. So I love that value on Odell.
I love the idea of you sitting in your house, like seeing Tyler Higbee's out, and you're like, all right, I'm immediately adjusting the odds on all these players through these numbers. That's professional betting at its finest. Raybon, last shot to convince me.
For my long shot, I'm going with Van Jefferson to score the first Rams touchdown at 10-1. I like these first team touchdowns a little more because it gives you another out, with first touchdown. If you don't, if the team doesn't get the ball first, you could be at a disadvantage. But looking at Van Jefferson, all the talk is on Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, Higbee out. If you squint really hard, you'll see number 12 out there pretty much every play for the Rams. He's ran a route in at least 86% of Stafford's dropbacks in all 3 postseason games. And this season, I went back and looked at all of the Rams' first touchdowns this year. They scored one in every game. So out of 20, Van Jefferson's tied for the team lead with Cooper Kupp with 4 first Rams touchdowns. So that's about a 20% chance. Obviously, I don't think it's that high, but 10-1 odds, they're implying only about a 9% chance. I think the true odds are somewhere in between those two extremes, maybe around 15% here. So give me Van Jefferson first Rams touchdown. He doesn't score many, but when he does, they're usually early in the game.
Oh my God, I can't believe the last Convince Me segment of the year is coming down to Van Jefferson and OBJ and Simon and Raybon. Oh, it's like, choosing between my 2 favorite kids. I don't know what to do. I'm going with OBJ. First touchdown. I can see him lighting it up. I like the odds at 10-1. Give me OBJ. First touchdown scored. To wrap it up, for our final segment of Convince Me for the 2021 NFL season, Bengals +4, Cooper Kupp over 28.5 yards for his longest reception. Matthew Stafford under 5.5 rushing yards in the game. OBJ first touchdown scored, 10-1. I will say that's dropping a little bit depending on where you see it, so shop around. Samantha, take us through the numbers, through the systems, through the predictions in Bet Labs.
Of course, yes. So did you know that the Bengals were the 4th best fourth quarter team on the road this season? One of my favorite bets of the day is the Bengals to score more points in the second half plus overtime versus the first half. During the regular season, they averaged 2.9 points in the first quarter on the road, 6.7 in the second quarter, 7.4 in the third, and 9.2 in the fourth. So yes, one of the best away averages in the NFL. So this does suggest that the team does start out a little bit slower and progressively scores more points while on the road. So let's talk about comebacks. Hopefully Burrow and the Bengals won't need one though, because it's actually pretty rare in the Super Bowl. Since the first Super Bowl in 1967, only 4 teams have overcome double-digit deficits to win. The last 2 featured Tom Brady, 2017 New England over Atlanta. That was the 28-3 game. And then 2015, New England over Seattle. That was the Malcolm Butler interception game. And then the 2 non-Tom Brady ones were New Orleans over Indy. That was Breeze over Manning, featuring a surprise onside kick. And then a 1988 Washington over Denver. And that is all I have for you for stats today.
All right. Well, we're all on the Bengals, so I hope we find some good luck today. Darren Rovell, wrap it up.
All right, you talked about that OBJ first touchdown prop at 10-1. Someone actually bet $10,000 at BetMGM on that. So that is a monster.
Someone check Simon Hunter's bank account right now.
Yeah.
Will not confirm or deny that or the Stafford bet.
Yeah, that Stafford bet he's referring to is $10,000 at 66-1 to score the first touchdown. And then Raybon is clearly in trouble if that happens, because unless it's a little half-yard sneak. I have a trivia question. So the Bengals have covered 7 straight games. If they win today, they would be only one of 3 teams in the last 50 years to win the Super Bowl and cover at least their last 8.
So you're asking us who are the other 2 teams
that have covered at least their last 8 and won the Super Bowl? It's very hard. It's an Evan Abrams special. So I will just give you 3 seconds.
Tampa Bay and I would say the Washington football team in the 80s at some point.
I thought you would go with the Patriots team. They used to cover, 16-17 New England Patriots and 89-90 49ers. Maybe a premonition about where Tom Brady might go after he unretires.
Interesting. All right, Darren, that was good. That was a good way to end it. Let's recap for everybody. 4 bets from each of our experts. Sean Koerner's on Cincinnati +4. Cooper Kupp, longest reception over 28.5 yards. Kevin Huber, punter for the Bengals, longest punt over 52.5 yards. He's on T. Higgins as a long shot to win the MVP. Simon Hunter also on Cincinnati +4. He's on T. Higgins over 71.5 receiving yards. Evan McPherson over 1.5 field goals total in the game, and OBJ long shot first touchdown. Chris Raybon likes the first quarter under 9.5. He likes Samaje Perine under 15.5 total rushing and receiving yards. He likes Matthew Stafford under 5.5 rushing yards, and he likes Van Jefferson first touchdown for the Rams at about 10-1. That's everything we got, folks. That is a full menu of betting covering everything from totals to sides to props. You name it, we served it. You got about 7 hours until kickoff. Go find a way to get your bets in. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the game. For Sean Koerner, for Simon Hunter, for Chris Raybon, for Darren Rovell, for Samantha Previte, for our extraordinary producers, Evan Abrams, Christina Ventura, Gifford Gould, the whole Action Network crew supporting the show. We'll see you next season.